Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to talk about this question of, are you addicted to health information or implementation? So we'll get to that in a minute. Smile, relax. Breathe out the stress. Breathe in the calm. Breathe out the chaos. Breathe in the clarity. Breathe out the doubt. So, a lot of people in this mind-body space get into information gathering. So the first time you come up with a symptom, the first thing you do is you research, you talk to doctors. If it's an emergency, you go to the emergency room. And that starts this long journey of trying to figure out, hey, what's going on? Why do I have this symptom? And in the medical world, that can involve multiple doctor's appointments, multiple treatments, oftentimes not with any preferred results. And then so we dig more, we dig deeper. WebMD, Wikipedia, Google become our best friends, our constant companions. Then we start going to social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok these days. And we start to dig and we start to research. And what's really fascinating is when we're researching, we feel like we're being productive. And initially we are, because we need to learn. We need to gather that knowledge. I call that the knowledge acquisition phase. And it's super important because you've got to understand what's going on. Now, in some cases, if it's not a medical problem, it's a mind-body condition created by brain perceiving danger. Oftentimes, the medical avenues lead you down many dead ends. And working with a practitioner of any type who fixes the body holds very little chance of success if, in fact, the symptoms are being created as a warning by the brain perceiving danger. So we continue to research, we continue to dig, we continue to learn, we talk to people, friends, family, people on the internet. In many cases, we go into these, what I call bad neighborhoods, where there's people with a similar diagnosis or similar set of symptoms that all gather together and they share their experience. And unfortunately, in some of those communities where they don't know about the brain's role or the brain being completely in charge of symptom creation, many times these bad neighborhoods are really areas that false information, false beliefs, fear, panic, terror really run rampant. And those bad neighborhoods can leave you feeling very scared, which leaves a lot of people desperate for more information. So what do? They research more. And it is very easy and very compelling to feel like I'm doing something for myself by researching. So I've had people ask me, hey Dan, I've read these 3 books on mind-body conditions. Some of Sarno's, Alan Gordon's, Nicole's, whatever. What book should I read next? Now, of course, I'm going to say mine, because that I'm biased, and I think I explain this stuff really well. But once you understand what's going on, once you have, I'll say, done the assessments and ruled in a mind-body condition as what's going on with you, then it is really important to say, okay, I've gathered the knowledge. I've determined that this is what's going on with me. I can slow down on the knowledge acquisition and shift my focus now to implementation. Because if you're addicted to gathering health information, that in many cases just leads to more confusion, doubt, uncertainty as to what I should be doing for myself to get rid of these symptoms. And if you've done the assessments and you understand that, okay, my symptoms are behaving like my brain's creating them based on the perception of danger, then more research about the physical body and the possible ailments. And, I even have people say, hey, Dan, will this work if I have this body problem? And in conversation, I'll say, well, what's the evidence of that body problem? The symptoms. Okay. Symptoms are not evidence of damage or failure of the body. Symptoms are not even evidence, barring some, of illness or disease. Symptoms are evidence that your brain is perceiving something's wrong. Now, we're supposed to rule out anything catastrophic, serious, life-threatening, cancers, tumors, serious disease process, lung issues, heart issues, strokes. Let's rule out the big stuff. But once we've done it and nothing that you're dealing with feels catastrophic, or the doctors are saying, I don't see what's causing it, or it may be this, but you're going to be okay, go home. If doctors are dismissing you and letting you leave the emergency room, it's not likely a catastrophic, life-threatening situation, because if it was, they wouldn't let you leave. So a lot of times we say, well, maybe they're missing something serious. Okay. Doctors are really good at finding serious stuff. Are there cases where they do? Yeah, perhaps. But more often than not, they're pretty good at ruling out anything life-threatening and helping you avoid or overcome that condition. So all that said, once you've done the knowledge acquisition and perhaps gone down those dead ends in the medical world, and then you've learned about the mind-body condition, listened to some videos, some podcasts, read my book, read some other books. There's some great ones out there. Schubner, Sachs, Alan Gordon. There's a number of them out there. But once you've gathered that information and you have an understanding as to what it means to have a mind-body condition, then I'm really going to encourage you to spend less time on knowledge acquisition, because you've gathered the knowledge. You have your answer. The assessments tell you that you're in the right place. We have to shift our intention and our effort to implementation. And so what does that look like? I share on here all the time the various things we can do, but we shift to conveying to our brain that we're actually okay, because we have clarity that our body's not the problem. We have clarity that my symptoms behave like a mind-body condition created by the brain. There's certain inconsistencies of time, type, location, severity, all sorts of clues. If you want to know what those clues are, the question's in the assessment. It's in Chapter 7 of the book. It's also downloadable at painfreeu.com. So if you're curious as to whether or not your symptoms are behaving like a mind-body condition, look at the assessment. Study it. How many of those are you checking off? If it's one or more, then your brain is creating the symptoms. And now you can set aside the knowledge acquisition, because you now have the knowledge. The next big step is, once you have that and the assessment says, yep, you're in the right place, accepting that as what's going on for you is key. I even talked about that in Chapter 7 of the book, the big decision. Acceptance. Okay, this is what's going on. Because implementation, while remaining completely in doubt as to the cause of the symptoms or whether or not this mind-body thing might not apply to me, implementation is very difficult and not likely to be very successful if you still think your body's flawed or failing, or you're sick or diseased. Really hard to teach your brain to turn off symptoms when in fact out of the other side of your mouth you are conveying, I'm sick, I'm broken, the doctor's missed a serious disease. We want to convince the mind that we're okay, and that takes clarity, consistency, confidence, credibility based on accurate knowledge, assessment, and decision to accept it. So these things are super important. Are you addicted to health information gathering and research? Let's see if we can get addicted to implementation. Can I navigate my day with a lot more safety messages than in the past, where a lot of it was doubt and fear? And I say this all the time. Fear and the attention we give to symptoms can take mind-body symptoms and make them persistent, even if there's nothing wrong with the body. Or let's say I had an injury. The injury will heal. But fear and attention on the symptom may cause the brain to keep that symptom going even after the body's healed. So, if you find yourself addicted to knowledge acquisition, knowledge gathering, and you've got a good base understanding, let's move into implementation. You know, if you want support on implementation, there's a lot of that in the book, but there's also a lot of that in the daily videos, all for free. And if you really want to get into a group format where you can learn from others, get support from others, and feel like you're not doing this alone, consider the group coaching, painfreeyougroup.com. All the links for all these resources are down below in the description of these videos on YouTube and Facebook, and in my link tree on Instagram. So dig in, get some resources. But folks, once you understand what's going on, we got to decide that this is it and start implementing. And if we're implementing and it's not working, well, as I talked about in a recent video, if it's not working for you yet, it could be a lack of clarity or a lack of safety. And so let's focus on implementing. Let's get the clarity locked down, and then focus on implementing these messages of safety consistently, confidently, credibly, and you can do this. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope everybody's doing great. And as always, love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.